Good afternoon, everyone. How are you feeling? How's the afternoon of Latitude 59 for you? Excited? Woo! Okay, so look, we're going to do something really important on this stage. And while we do this really important thing, I'm going to need you as much as us to bring the energy. So I need you to be prepared to applaud and to whoop and to, most importantly, really, really listen, because this is very important. On that note, I'd like to introduce Triin, who is going to read first the Declaration of Allyship.
I don't have a time.
Woo! Woo!
Yeah. Are you ready? It's like I haven't read ever a manifesto, so bear with me, please. This manifesto declares that Estonian founders and investors jointly commit to achieving true economic and societal prosperity. This can be achieved by creating a diverse and inclusive startup ecosystem. Research after research shows that gender-diverse leadership teams are more efficient and profitable. A better world requires the involvement of all stakeholders. We've all seen the statistic that from all capital raised worldwide, female-only founded startups raise just 2%. Although it is worrisome, it is also misleading and distracts from the progress made by mixed-gender founding teams. Notably, nearly 20% of VC capital goes to startups with a female co-founder. In Estonia, the ratio of investments to female-only and mixed founding teams is close to 18%, in line with the number of startups founded by women. However, the percentage of reported female investment committee members in Baltic funds is only 8.9%. Thus, to realize the full potential of performance growth, we need to see more gender-diverse founding teams and investment boards.
Woo!
There are not enough women in executive positions in startups and VC funds. Therefore, we, founders and investors, commit to stepping up our game to realize the business potential that gender diversity brings along. Woohoo! Woo! Yeah. We stand for gender diversity on our management boards and work towards spreading decision-making power equally. We include female candidates in the shortlists for open leadership positions and encourage inviting more women as co-founders. Yay! We ask all companies to collect data on hiring, people retention, decision-making, and strategic planning, and apply a gender lens to their analysis. Yay! Committing to this manifesto doesn't require complicated systems. You only need to do these 5 things consistently. First, when you start a company or a VC fund, ensure you have a gender-diverse co-founding or partner team. When you hire for leadership roles, ensure your communication and hiring process is gender unbiased and serves the goal of having a gender-diverse leadership team. When you lack women candidates, take extra steps to invite women to apply. Promote women to leadership positions and decision-making positions in your organization. And last but not least, gather data. Gather data in order to track the progress of your organization's diversity actions. Yeah, good. All good? All good? 5, only 5. 5 things you need to do constantly. And now, the creation of this manifesto has been a realization of true allyship. I want to thank you, Kari Kink from SVCA. I want to thank Margus Uudam and Linda Võõras from Karma VC. I want to thank Knapp from NordicNinja VC. I want to thank Kaidi Ruusalev from Funderbeam, Sten Tamkivi from Plural, Cathy White from CEW Communications. I want to thank Liisi Org from Latitude59. I want to thank Age Petter, Helerin Adelbert, and Triin Preem from Swedbank. And our special thanks goes to Megan Riley, who introduced us to the concept of allyship that now serves as the foundation of this manifesto. There were many other people who were involved. Let's thank them as well. Thank you. And now we invite everybody to join forces with us, take action, and let's make true prosperity a reality. Yay.
Yay. Oh, yay, indeed. Now you can take a seat. Well done. That was fantastic. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, while you catch your breath, obviously everyone has now heard from Triin and heard the manifesto. But before I start asking lots of questions about where we are, how and where we're going, I want to start with just asking our lovely panel here to introduce themselves. So you've got a little bit more context of who they are and their involvement as well. So Aga, I'd like to start with you. If you could just introduce who you are, the company that you come from, and specifically why you're here today.
Thank you, Cathy. I am Age Petter. I am from Swedbank Investment Funds. It is an asset management company in the Swedbank Group. So we are the leading pension fund holder in Estonia. We have more than 2 billion assets under management. Here I see quite many of the funds we have invested in, so many good people around. And I've worked in the Swedbank Group actually my whole life, more than 20 years already. And the topic of today, the diversity and inclusion, also the topic of corporates as such, not only startups, but all companies, is very close to my heart. So I have very strong feelings on some of the angles on the topic. So hopefully we can, have a discussion around some of those at least.
Oh, we are going to have a discussion. We are here to, fight. Not you, other people. Margus, could you also introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Margus, partner at Karma Ventures, deep tech fund investing all across Europe. Overall in venture for 16 years. But since early 90s, I have been lucky to build quite many different teams, being CEO in energy infrastructure or HR consulting, Ministry of Finance. And I would say, looking back now, I can say I mostly have had diverse teams. In the energy management, energy infrastructure, my leadership was 50% female-male team, for example. But in venture, I have found it to be incredibly hard to build diverse team. Previously, I didn't think about is it diverse or not. We just picked the best candidates and fulfilled the role, and they turned out to be diverse. But in venture ecosystem, I find it incredibly hard. And maybe I have thought really a lot about it. And maybe I'm here to learn more. Why is it so still?
Okay, thank you. Ro, over to you.
Thank you, Cathy. I'm Ro Knapp. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at NordicNinja VC. I'm lucky enough to have been coming to Tallinn for nearly 20 years now. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But having always worked in tech, unfortunately, I haven't seen the diversity that I'd like to see. And I haven't been part of the teams that have had the diversity that I'd like to see. And not just gender diversity, but diversity of thought and the other diversity areas that we have. And I'm here today because I think it's okay to start being a little bit uncomfortable about having these conversations. There's comfort to be taken in that. So yeah.
Oh yeah, we're going to get uncomfortable. I'm up for this. Triin, well, you did a fantastic speech.
Thank you.
But now we need to know a little bit more about Triin.
Yeah, well, I'm Triin Kask. I'm a third-time founder, been in the startup ecosystem for 15 years, I believe, already. And for the last, I think half of the time, I've been mentoring, encouraging, organizing different initiatives to really get more female founders into the picture, to motivate or inspire them to come out from their comfort zones and actually take steps to found their companies. So this is very, very close to my heart. And I see a lot of misunderstandings that I hope I also made clear with the manifesto, that there are things that we should be putting our focus on, like mixed gender teams, and it's about diversity that should be also talked about within founders, not just female founders or investors, but also founders in general. So the whole ecosystem needs to come behind that.
Yeah, awesome. So I didn't do an introduction to myself, so I'm going to say hi as well. So I'm Cathy. I'm founder and CEO of a communications agency. We tell the stories of startups and VCs. And similar to Triin, I've been in the tech ecosystem for about 15 years and used to live in London. And years ago, I used to be director of an organization called Geek Girl Meetup UK. It was all about putting inspirational women on stage to inspire the next generation, but without the conversation being, woe is me for I am woman. It was about badass women showing you why they are amazing and giving you that lovely level of inspiration. And I'm very lucky that I've seen quite a few different ecosystems and how they're tackling diversity. And so I'm very lucky that I got to lead this conversation and dive into what we need to do. And before we get into what you can do, how you can help, the first step really is let's understand where we are. What is our baseline? Where are we working from? Now, Margus, you raised this with me backstage. If you're happy, I know I've turned to the one guy on the panel, haven't I? But I won't make a mansplaining joke. Can you tell us about where are we at right now? And I'm going to get the others to join in as well.
I have thought really a lot about in this panel context as well. And it looks like stepping back a lot, big shift is happening. And it happens from time to time. At one point of time, slavery was considered normal, not anymore. We humans understood that's not the right way. Everybody should have voting rights. That seems to be very normal. But in the back, humans thought maybe not so. So the big shifts happening from time to time. And during these times, I think the definition how new good looks like is there is some confusion or like not clarity immediately at what it should be. Extreme views pop up. Quite often regulation pops up. Forced measures pop up. And this is having a good attempt to define how good looks like, what we should aim for. And I think we have still, and then whatever we define now, years from now, next generations, they still understand where the gaps have been, what we have built. Humans, as long as we keep killing us, ourselves and each other, like it's happening at the moment, and we pour more innovation into killing more, we are not very smart. We should accept it. And that helps us to understand our ignorance. Ignorance meaning, I don't know that I don't know. And I think we are in a territory to explore how the new good looks like. And quite often, there is a temptation for short-term solutions, like let's fix it now. But more often, it takes new leadership. It takes new generation to understand it. And I think to have fundamental change, there is a lot we can do now, but there is also new leadership and new generation needed for it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting just to touch upon quickly what we see in the media, right? Like when it comes to gender diversity in European tech, we normally get served a few different headlines. Like I think in the last month or so, Sifted ran an article which alluded to the fact that right now more women are leaving technology. the 2% figure that Triin mentioned in the manifesto about the amount of capital that goes towards solely female-founded teams, it's been at, well, I think it's been at 2% for years because it's the one number that I'm aware of. Ro, from a VC perspective, have you seen any shift in terms of where we're at now?
Not really, but I think there's the potential for that. I was in Tokyo last week and heard from Cathy Matsui, who's a formidable force when it comes to representing women in technology. And Cathy was mentioning of one of their funds, they have 40% female founders. And those female founders outweigh their counterparts by at least 1.5x. So for me, the proof there is it's not about asking for something in addition. It just makes economic sense. And so we know where we need to get to, and we know the rationale is there. So what's holding us up? I think we're holding ourselves up, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Aga, Swedbank, you're looking at this from a completely different lens. I'd love it if you could give us a couple of examples of what does diversity look like within Swedbank? What initiatives or anything have you run internally to help?
I think I can put in maybe even two perspectives. One is internally in the bank. As I said, I worked more than 20 years already, and I think looking back maybe 15 plus years, a lot of things were more like intuitive. If you happen to be around normal people, which is kind of undervalued, I would say, at the beginning of everything, you should be a normal person. Then you can, start growing and start thinking about your beliefs, but it helps a lot if you're a normal person. So looking back a longer time, I think a lot of things were intuitive. But by now, they have grown to be very clearly thought through management principles. So all the management team is committed. There are clear principles, how we are hiring, how we are treating our people, what is, for example, salary ranges. We are very transparent. We're very open about it. So we have also done different campaigns during different times. For example, this hiring people and in the decision-making level, there are definitely needed both gender candidates in the shortlisting, but also in the lower level, we are trying to also have more diverse team, and we have made campaigns to recruit men to come for this client-serving position also. So some of those campaigns have been more successful, some have been less successful, but I think for the last 10 years already, it has been very focused and conscious actions, what we are doing. And they're not also like always comfortable, as Rose said, that I have even had the experience that when we have this like daughter companies inside the group, we also have supervisory boards, and when the nomination committee is appointing a new member, there also needs to be gender balance. And one time I remember very clearly when we had a discussion about competence, what we needed, what kind of from which part of the organization we would actually need some additional persons, and it was the wrong gender. And everybody was like, but we really need the competence. It was a wrong gender, it was not confirmed, and I thought about it, I think, for months. And in one way it kind of annoyed me, but in another way I clearly understand. It's very easy to say, but next time, we will confirm now because we need that person, we need a competence, but next time a seat opens up or the term is done or something, next time we will choose. So we don't take the easy way, so you need to find another way. So I truly admire that. And throughout these 20 years or 20 plus years, I have never felt being treated differently as being a woman. I like the idea what you said, as a badass woman. I also think of me as a badass person. Of course I'm a woman, I wear skirts, I like to wear lipstick, everything, but the first thing that comes to mind is not I'm a woman, I'm a person. So this I have felt very good during the time there. But another angle, if I may, is when we look at the different funds, VC funds, private equity funds, where we invest as an investment company. Here I do see difference, and I do see a change happening also. So maybe a couple of years back even, the first question was like diversity in sense of how many men, how many women. Now it's more in a conversation like, but what kind of competence, what kind of people you have? Is there any blind spots that you're not maybe aware of? Have you thought this through? Do you think about it at all? So I would say it's, I don't know, I haven't done the statistics, but 50-50. A lot of teams are actually very much thinking about it, very much having an open discussion. Like, we don't have a woman in the partnership currently, but we are thinking that we might be missing this and this. And these descriptions and competencies and also like personalities they are describing, they're very different. Some are looking for empathy, some are looking for and thinking that women are more concrete, more, you know. So it's very good to see. But unfortunately, I also have experienced this different attitude when I talk to the people outside the bank, and also like if there are like funds, all middle-aged white men, unfortunately, and yes, and wanting to have a discussion whether the pension fund would invest in them. So not all of them come to us, the investment company, not all of them come to me or my portfolio manager. Some of them seek out a higher ranking banking executive, a male version, and go to them. And even if they are directed to us, they're still like, yes, 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 but... So it's a very weird feeling for me. As I said, throughout my adult life, I haven't been treated that way in my own workplace. So every time I get this, it's like more, I'm a bit annoyed, but more like surprised.
Yeah.
Like, really?
But I feel like, you know, everyone will have a story of a time that someone else's biases, and they might be completely unconscious, right? You don't necessarily realize it. I'll give you one quick example, and then I have a really good question for you. Years ago, an old boss of mine, we had to invite VCs to come along to a festival. Basically, we were going to get them drunk on behalf of a client, PR. I pulled together a list of VCs, and my list of VCs was gender balanced. And I shared it with my boss, and my boss went through the list, and he pointed at every woman on that list, and he went, oh, we can't invite them. And I said, what do you mean we can't invite them? And he said, well, she's got kids, and she's got kids, and she's got kids. And he went through the whole list. So I got my pen, and I pointed at all of the men, and I went, well, he's got kids, and he's got kids, and he's got kids. So it's that unconscious bias that sits there, right? The old roles still roll in our heads, or in some people's heads. Triin, question for you. So briefly, I was talking about talent. Now, I see this as a challenge for startups, right? You want to hire a diverse team. You want to make sure that you're bringing more people, more diverse thought, etc., into your company. But at the same time, you have this potential time pressure for getting the right people in at the right time to grow. So, you know, as the startup founder here as well, what would your recommendation be to anyone in the room who's looking to hire but is also like, I got to get going?
Yeah, I totally understand the rationale, but I think that I'm just seconding here Ake, who was saying, like, if you just slip it through one time and you're not putting conscious effort into it and think like it's really important, it has to be there, like it's like, you know, we don't compromise on this. It's just, we have to have diversity, and if you see that it's going off, then you're not happy until you have achieved gender diverse decision making. It just needs to be there in order to have prosperity. So I think that it's just a matter of realizing what you're dealing with long term. Long term, you're dealing with economics, as you referred to, as I referred to in the manifesto. That just if you have a gender diverse decision making, you will bring more money back. And that's it. Like, do you want it in long term or not? So if I were an investor, I would really ask, you know, if like a bunch of guys would approach me like, hey, I don't see you thinking very rationally here. You know, you're not thinking of long-term prosperity. You're here for a quick gain. So pardon me, but how do you explain what I'm seeing? So I think that it's just a matter of mindset and really taking it as a value that you stand for.
Yeah. I have some questions here from the audience who have been a very good audience and read the sign up on there saying, please ask questions. So I've not had to remind them. But if you would like to ask more questions, please do this. I'm going to read this one. Maybe it's a slight sucker for the name of this individual who has labeled it a girl dad. Research says imposter syndrome stops women in their tracks. How can we help young female talent get over this while they are getting ready to select careers? Ro,
I mean, I was talking with Triin earlier today and some of my colleagues about massive imposter syndrome that I've had this week, being surrounded by such amazing people. And I think in my experience, as a female leader, vulnerability is the key there. It's not always, sunshine and roses, and you don't always appear or feel as put together as you appear. And I think sharing that vulnerability, especially with young, females in my team, I think that can build up. But it also comes to the point of having more women on the stage and having more women in positions that show the next generation that are coming up that they can do this, and you're not necessarily the imposter that you feel because you see more of the people like you.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times, turn what you think is imposter syndrome into your superpower.
Yeah.
Right? Switch it around the other way. So in terms of kind of other challenges that sit in the way of getting to more diversity, what more can we collectively do? I welcome any thoughts from any of you on this point. What steps can we take?
For example, I'm a big believer in good checklists. So I like my checklists. I like to put things on them. I like to, pencil them out. But I think for example, in corporate governance side, we also went through that topic in some group very detailed, and we found out that when you start assessing yourself, it's very good to understand you need to map yourself against something. So I think in the diversity part, it's the same. You think that you're a normal person, but you need to, calibrate somehow. So I think actionable would be that to have some kind of, checklist. Do you have this? Do you do this? Do you do this often or rarely? Do you check? Some, I don't know, 10 points, something. A very quick assessment, and then it might be a surprise to some of those people also filling out those, They might think they are very diverse, but not really, because just thought about it that I said that in Swedbank I've done many things and we are, I think, in a very good place. But recently I've discovered that the diversity is usually looked in the teams horizontally. But if I look at vertically, for example, my counterparties in the Swedbank group, almost all are men in the Baltics. From 10 people who I need to interact on different levels, one is female, all other are men. So I think that there are room to grow everywhere. So a checklist should also cover that part.
Does anyone else have anything to add on challenges in the way and how we can get around them?
Yeah, I would just put more emphasis in the to the value part. That it's just the way how you lead, and just making it really, meditating on it. Me as a founder, me as a CEO, me as part of this company, making decisions. Do I have diversity in place? For example, me and my co-founder, who is also a woman, we were thinking that we need a third co-founder, and we were thinking that it needs to be a man. It's two women, and we need to have a man in order to balance out our thinking. We were thinking a lot alike, and some of the things came from us being women, why we were thinking alike. So we really wanted to have this diverse viewpoint from a man, and fortunately we did get a co-founder who is a man. So I think that it applies to everybody. If it's 5 female founders founding a company, they should also think about diversity. And it's everybody should be thinking in terms of, as I said, long-term view. Do you really want prosperity?
Do you really want prosperity? I think the resounding answer there really should just be yes.
Yeah,
we do. So let's make it happen. I have some more questions from the audience. Oh, whoa, that just refreshed, and I have a lot more questions from the audience. So I do apologize. Now I've got to pick a fresh one. Here's an interesting one. Do you agree that for startups to be able to IPO, the board should be made up of, at least, I'm assuming, 40% of women and have at least one person of color for a company to IPO? It's controversial in terms of, and I mean that in the sense of setting specifics. I guess this comes back to how far do you go with a box ticking exercise? How far do you push it?
And this is at the moment the phase how the industry is changing. It starts with how good looks like, and our investors measure us. For example, how diverse are our investments and how diverse we are. Now, in short term, you might make yourself look good. You recruit somebody from another fund. Experienced person. I am more diverse. The other one, the fund is less diverse now. It's a zero-sum game. So we need fundamentally more females and more diversity to the ecosystem, which means I might be able to recruit people who don't have experience in venture investments. And you, my investor, need to be happy. So, story of Linda from our team. We recruited classical, we set up that, 90% male candidates, 10% female. Linda had no background in venture investments, but had worked with startups in management consulting and recruiting. And this example where you take competencies, what are needed in your business as well, and the experience can be built up, and you can explain how the value builds up and so on. So we need more people from other verticals to our ecosystem. Otherwise, if we keep recruiting from each other, it's a zero-sum game. And these measures are good indications. At Karma, we like to think what's best for the company. And we don't think what's best for founders, or what's best for employees, or what's best for investors, or what's best for ourselves. What is fundamentally best for the company? And this definition is changing. And if this board setup is best for the company, then yes, absolutely.
Great. As I just had something on the tip of my tongue and it's gone, which is really annoying. Yeah, it's going to come back. We are, unfortunately, running out of time on this panel. So while we have 3 minutes, I would love it if each of you in turn could just give our audience, one thing, at least like one step that they can take today, tomorrow, immediately, over the next few years. Just something that they can take away and action straight away. And Triin, I'll start with you.
Just get yourself together. I don't know if I'm talking about like co-founders or your decision-making team or your partners team, and think about this. Just as from the value perspective, like should we, or maybe not just should, but we have to think about it or make some actions happen. And then I would really encourage to look at the manifesto again, because there are very specific steps, and just following them. And why not talk about it publicly, that we are following this manifesto and we are doing already things, and also acknowledging the fact what you're not doing yet. Where are you lacking? So that's okay if you're missing some of the points, but just maybe start with one. Start, for example, if you're looking for a new leadership position, really work hard to get more than maybe 10% to apply to this position. Like go reach out, talk to your female friends, ask them, do you know anyone? And I think it does need effort, but it's worthwhile. It's for the prosperity.
Ro?
Yeah, I think get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Have those uncomfortable conversations and turn a box-ticking exercise into actual meaningful actions. So, for example, I would love to say that out of the 100 companies that we look at, 30% have at least one female founder. In fact, I might just pledge that now. But be uncomfortable with that. Because if we're not uncomfortable, it's just going to stay the same.
Yeah. Margus?
Maybe from broader perspective, diversity is part of ESG. Most fund managers have finance background only. They don't usually have founder or CEO background. And they take ESG and sometimes diversity included as a tick box. I look like this, it's done. Let's move on. There are sad examples where the founder had two term sheets. One had ESG term in it, the other one didn't. The founder took the other one. If you have been CEO of the larger company, ESG is nothing else than the new leadership. Leadership 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, whatever you want. Leadership is redefined how good looks like. And it is, you obviously put governance in place, no? You want to build great team, which is defined in a better way. Don't you want to do it? And you don't want to make profits at the expense of environment, no? For prosperity. So it is great if founders and investors could take ESG as a leadership, not as a tick box exercise to follow.
Aga, closing thoughts, because we're out of time, but do share them, please.
As we are out of time, I totally agree with Margus, and we had the same conversation backstage also, that, you know, get your governance in order from the beginning. Don't wait with it. If you don't get it in order, you can go very, very wrong very, very soon. Start with the governance and then build your company.
Thank you. My final thought would just be make diversity a must-have, not a nice-to-have. And on that note, thank you very much for listening. We look forward to seeing lots of people engaging with the manifesto, and a round of applause for my panel. Thank you.